welcome to a new episode of the Bobbles Berries Podcast. Happy New Year. It's the first episode of 2025. I was going to say 2024. It's probably going to take me a while to adjust. If you are new here, my name is Ode and I am coming to you from Edinburgh in Scotland. And I have just a regular podcast episode today for you. Over the Christmas break, I treated myself to a bit of a new camera setup, and it's my first time using it I've tried it out a little bit, but for a full podcast episode, so bear with me. I think I have the settings okay for now, but I might need to tweak things in the future, so just bear with me if a few things don't work properly. Also, it comes with a mic, so we've got a little Fluffy here, and let's hope that Fluffy does its job, But yeah, just one announcement before I get started. I have a lot to show you actually, because I knit a lot over the break. I took some time off work and I got to finish a lot of projects and to start some new projects that I can't wait to share with you. But just before we start, I wanted to say a quick words about my shop and reopening the shop. I know a lot of you have been waiting for this, so the shop will be open by the time this video goes up. The one thing is, as you've probably heard, the European Union, there's new rules, I guess, for shipping from outside, for businesses to ship and sell from outside of the EU, called GPSR. And basically, as you'd expect, everything is quite vague and definitely not tailored to small businesses at all. And it's all a bit confusing, and all this to say that for now, unfortunately, I am no longer selling to the EU, and that also includes Iceland, Norway, Liechtenstein, and Northern Ireland. So yeah, I'm sorry, right now I just can't sell to those countries. Basically, we have to, as businesses outside of the EU, we have to become compliant with the new rules, and that has a cost, a financial cost, not just time, which if it were just time, it would be okay, but it also has a financial cost that is just too high for my small business. European customers don't represent a lot of customers as far as I'm concerned. Europe is just a very small market for my shop. I get mostly orders from the UK and North America and Australia, if I'm honest. So sadly, the cost of becoming compliant with the new European regulations is pretty much as I make from European orders. So it's just not worth it for me, sadly. Not viable, not sustainable. I'm trying to find solutions. I don't know if when I will be able to sell to European customers again. I think there might be a way for me to sell to European stockists, so yarn shops in the EU, and then possibly you could purchase from them. But it's all very vague, all very confusing. I need to do a lot more research, and I didn't want to spend my whole Christmas break doing this because I needed the rest, and I'm sure you understand, I just needed the rest and didn't want to deal with that. So yeah, I'm really sorry for now. I can't sell to the EU. I have a few stockists. I put the link down in the description of my various stockists. Some are based in Europe and may have some stock left. Some are based in the EU, in the UK, and they may be compliant because they're bigger businesses than I am. So you might be able to purchase from them, but if you do, please get in touch with them first just to make sure that they are able to send to the EU. Yeah, I'm sorry, it sucks. There's nothing else to say about it. It sucks, and for now I can't sell and ship to Europe. I'm really sorry about that. If you are traveling to the UK at any point, if you're traveling in the UK at any point, I am more than happy to send your order to whatever UK address you'll be staying at whenever it's convenient for you. Even if you let's say you order in January, but you're not traveling until March, that is fine. I will hold your order for you. Just let me know. I'm more than happy to do that. But yeah, can't send to Europe just now. So yeah, I'm sorry. It really sucks. I hate it, but that's what it is right now. So hopefully things will change soon. But yeah, anyway, I'm gonna stop here. and start the podcast, because that is a lot more fun. And yeah, I have, like I said, it's a regular podcast episode. I have quite a few finished objects. I have my stuff in my notes and everything here, so this is why I might be looking to the side from time to time. I have 1 garment finished, 2 hats, and 4 pairs of socks. 3 of them I've mentioned previously, and they have now been gifted, so I'll just go over them quickly. But yeah, that's what I have. And I have 3 works in progress. One is a completely new one that I've never talked about before. If you've watched my last video, which was my winter knitting plans, we're already slightly deviating from that, but in a good way. I'm really excited about this project. And then I have another work in progress, which has been on my needles for quite a while, has been in hibernation for quite a while, but I've brought it out of hibernation. And then I have a 3rd work in progress, which was a finished object, but which needed some work. It wasn't fitting right, so I've put it back on my needles to fix it. So I'll show you those when we get to that. And then I have a few acquisitions, not too many, and then I have a few books that I would like to talk to you about. So yes, grab a cup of tea. I have a cup of green tea with a cute little robin, and yeah, let's get going. So I'm going to start, when it comes to finished objects, I'm going to start with the biggest one, which is also one that has been on my needles for quite a while, and which I'm realizing that now I haven't really thought through how to show it to you, so bear with me. But it is my Miles shirt jacket. So let me see, because I have the mic with me also, I'm hoping that I'm not bumping in the mic all the time, but maybe I can get up and put it on. Let's see. I guess that will have to do. Sorry about the chair. I just want to move it and not put it back in the right place. Oop, microphone. But yeah, so that's my Miles shirt jacket. It is finished. As you can see, it is very oversized in that it fits over the jumper, which I realize I haven't said what I'm wearing, but I will in a minute. And yeah, I love it. I'm going to take it off so I can talk to you about it. So the Miles shirt jacket, if you've been here a little while, it has been on my needles for a few months. I was really excited. There was a bit of drama when I first started it, but then I was very excited to start working on it. And then I kind of lost steam for a little bit. But then I picked it back up in December, and I've been knitting on it until I finished it. And yeah, there wasn't a ton to do. There was mostly, the only thing is that there was a lot of Italian bind-offs to do in unspun, and so that took a bit of time. But otherwise, it was mostly the sleeves, which knit up quite quickly. But yeah, so I'm just going to talk about the yarn quickly. So like I said, Miles shirt jacket, the pattern is by Ozetta. I don't know how to hold this. And the yarn that I'm using is the recommended yarn, and it is Wool Dreamers Manchalopi in the shade either dark brown gray or dark gray brown, something like that. It is very, very nice. I really like this shade. It's kind of like a cool brown to me, and it was very enjoyable to knit with, I have to say. It is unspun, but I found it like sturdy enough. It didn't really break on me, except like if I sat on it, which, you know, my fault, not the yarn. And yeah, it's really interesting because it is a really nice texture. It's very soft. It's very lightweight, which I really like because it's also very warm, but it feels weird in a way that like a piece that is so big, it is a really long jacket. It goes like past my bum, and like long sleeves and everything feels so light. It's just like, it feels a bit weird in that way, but I don't mind it at all. I haven't worn it out and about yet because while it is warm, it's been really, really cold here, and too cold to wear the jacket, but I think it will be a really, really nice piece to wear in the spring and the autumn. I like to go out. We live quite close to a park. I like to go out for walks sometimes, and that will be perfect. And it has pockets. I can show you here, which I thought would be a bit tricky to sew, but they were fine. The designer said to use plied yarn in the same color as your yarn to sew the pockets, but I didn't really have a yarn that matched, so I just used the unspun to sew the pockets down, also to do the Italian bind off. I don't know if you can see so well, and it was fine. I know we always say like, it's difficult to sew with unspun because it breaks all the time, and it is. But the way around that is to felt it, basically. So, and to bind off with much smaller sections. So you get a small section of unspun yarn, you rub it, you felt it, you do your bind off until you run out, and then you split splice another small section, felt it, and keep going. So it is a bit of a longer process, but you know, it works. And in a way, it's also quite enjoyable to have smaller portions of, like, smaller sections of yarn to work your bind off with, as opposed to if you were to do it with a regular yarn, you would have to measure the entire yarn, that amount of yarn that you need before you start, and then you're just pulling meters and meters of yarn out of each stitch when you start, and that's also a bit, like, it gets tangled and everything, which I don't like that much. So yeah, so not really a problem, just, you know, patience. But that's also the whole thing about this kind of project. This is a big project, a long-term project, and this kind of unspun yarn is that you have to slow down and you have to relax a lot, and it's quite enjoyable, you know, like it's really enjoyable. It's not like your quick and easy project that you might want to just cast on and then wear it like 3 days later. That's just not what it is. But if you know that that's not what it is and you're happy with this, then, you know, that's a very, very enjoyable project. Let me give you a bit more details. So I knit the size M, which was recommended for my bust circumference. The amount of yarn that was recommended in the pattern was perfectly fine. I think it was 5 plates for me, and I have, you can maybe see on the shelf up here, I have most of the 5th plate left, but I did have to use enough of it that, like, I could not have done without. I did lengthen the whole jacket by about 5 centimeters, which did use more yarn, but I also shortened the sleeves. I always shorten the sleeves because my arms are, I guess, short for my, like, the ratio with my bust measurement or whatever. So I don't know if all in all it compensated. What I saved on yarn on the sleeves is what I used for the extra length, but more or less, I would say. All that to say that the yarn recommendation is good. I still have quite a bit to maybe do a hat or something, but I need to have a think at what I might want to do with this leftover yarn. It is really, really nice yarn. Let me see, what else? Oh yes, I ended up, so for the color, so you do a double folded color, so you knit ribbing for quite a while and then you fold it, and it says to, you know, when you do that bind off where you grab a stitch from the cast on edge, knit them together with the bin guys are here, they're gonna make noise. Minute for a tea break. All right, they are gone. They took their time. They just have a regular schedule, so it's really hard to anticipate when they're going to come in. And they are quite loud, obviously, because not their fault, but a bin truck is loud. Like I was saying, so the collar is a double folded collar, and in the pattern it says to pick up the stitch from the cast on, knit 2 together with the alive stitch, and then bound them off. And if I'm honest, I thought it was a bit of a faff, and I didn't really feel the need to do that. So what I did is just I bound off my collar with a regular bind off, and I didn't make it tight, but I didn't try to make it particularly loose. And then I just sewed it down, and what that did is that it gave me a bit of structure. The collar itself, like where it joins the body of the jacket, is not very stretchy, which is good. It gives me a bit of structure, because otherwise this is very oversized and it can be quite floppy, and especially the collar is quite high and you don't have, the collar doesn't close with buttons. The buttons just start below the collar on the button band, and so it can all be just a bit floppy. So I thought a little bit of structure in that case was good. Speaking of button band, I think I did one extra button hole than recommended, and I don't have buttons yet. I had bought some, I would like to use some wooden toggle buttons, and I had bought some, and they're just too small. They're a bit too small, and they're also, the wood is a bit too warm in color for me to go nicely with this more cooler toned yarn. So I have ordered some. They might arrive today in the post, but I haven't received them. So yeah, I'll show you the next time which buttons I get. But yeah, overall I am very, very pleased with this knit. It took a while, but it was definitely worth it. Also, it took longer because I put it down a few times just to work on other things. It didn't have to take as long as it did for me. And yeah, also one good thing with unspun yarn is that it dries really quickly, which is always nice, especially now because it's really, like, it's winter, so it's really cold and it's quite damp in Scotland, and so things tend to take a bit of time to dry. But yeah, super happy with this. Can't wait to start wearing it. Sorry, unfortunately it is a bit too cold for it right now, but it will be good when the weather warms up a little bit again. So yeah, I think that's all I wanted to say about it. I hope so. So yeah, the pockets are really big too, which is really nice. I'm gonna put it to the side now. The pockets are really big, which is nice because usually when I go for a morning walk like this, I don't take a bag with me. I just take my phone and my keys and whatever. So it's nice to have some large pockets for that. Moving on to the next project, and there are a pair of socks that you have seen on the podcast before. I need to remember to look up because the camera is above the screen now, so I need to remember to look at the camera and not at the screen. There are a pair of socks that you have seen before that I started knitting a little while ago, and then it just took me a while to finish them because I was knitting other things that were gifts and had a deadline, and you know the drill. So, but they're finished now, and they are my fairy ring socks. I'm just gonna show you. So they are a colorwork cuff socks. The pattern is an adaptation on the fairy ring pattern by Katie Green. Her pattern, the whole sock is colorwork. It has a bit of a flea, I think that's what they call, like a flea stitch colorwork thingy on the leg, and then the mushrooms are like a white stem and a red hat and like more standard mushroom colors, I guess. But I decided to do it in different colors and different yarns. So the yarns that I used, I'm going to look at my notes because I don't remember the name of them all. So the main color, this white beige color, this is woolen twine Ovis sock. It's all non-superwash, no nylon sock yarn. The Ovis sock is, let me see, it is 50% Jacob and 50% Chivia. It's really nice, really soft in my opinion, but also I'm not very sensitive to yarn, so you know it's not as soft as a superwash merino obviously, but I like it. It is 400 meters to 100 grams, which was really nice because I find that a lot of natural sock yarns are closer to 350, 360 meters per 100 grams, so a bit of a thicker fingering weight, but this one was the 400 meters that you would get, that we are more used to, I guess, in a way. So, like I said, the beige is woolen twine ovis sock in the shade Bones or Bone. The stem of the mushrooms here is that same yarn but in the shade Oat Milk. The dark brown for the top of the mushroom, that is Garthenor Snowdonia, which is their sock yarn, which is a mix of Hebridean and Romney. And I used very little, so I have plenty of yarn to make a pair of socks entirely out of this yarn, which is a plan of mine. And then the green is not a sock yarn, it is Rama Fennel in, I don't know what shade it is, I think they've got numbers. 4129 Dark Moth Green Heather. So yeah, again, for the colorwork bits, I barely used any yarn, like a gram, 2 grams maybe. So I have the whole skein left pretty much. And yeah, it was really, really enjoyable. I had a lot of fun knitting this. I knit everything on 2.25 millimeters, which is what I tend to use for natural sock yarn. Because this one was a bit thinner than the other natural sock yarn, like I mentioned before, it means that it's quite tight, but in a good way. Like they fit really, really good. I usually wear my woolen socks at home, so I'm not super concerned about the absolute perfect fit. And I think a lot of them are just slightly, very slightly too big to, not to wear in shoes, but to like be comfortable in the long term wearing it in shoes. These are really comfortable in shoes, but also I don't really wear them in boots outside. I just wear them at home to be warm, and at home I wear sort of like slippers. So yeah, the fit is not as much of an issue. For the color work, I went up to 2.25 millimeters, just to make sure, because the gauge is obviously slightly different. For everything, I used the Xiaogu 9-inch circulars. That's how I like to knit my socks. And yeah, the color work bit is fine. It fits. It fits just over my ankle or my heel, or like the widest part of your foot. I don't have to force it, but it's good that it's not smaller. But that also means that around my leg, it fits really nicely. It's not too gapey or too big or anything. So yeah, I did, I think I did my usual like 64 stitches, and I believe the colorwork pattern was designed to match those sort of standard stitch counts that we have for socks. So like 64, 56, 72. I think there are other sizes because it also goes like to baby sizes. But yeah, so, and I did the usual, I don't remember what the pattern called. Like I said, I just used the chart for the mushrooms. But yeah, for the rest, it's my usual heel flap and gusset with, I always do a bit of garter stitch on the edges because it looks pretty and it makes picking up stitches easier. I think I've talked in the past, I have a bit of issues to have my heel turn even, but it's okay. It's been worse. It's been worse. We'll say that. Yeah, it's fine. And I did knit the heel turn on DPN, and I think that's helped a lot with my tension issues. And I think now to get it like nice and even, it's just a matter of practice for me. But I think using DPNs for that section is actually quite nice. So I just did the whole heel in using DPN just because they're a bit smaller. I used to use sort of like magic loop, but because I think there's the cable as opposed to DPN, which are basically the same kind of straight needles, but without a cable, I think I hold them a bit differently, and it does nice things for my tension, I guess. And yeah, and then I did the round toe, which is always what I do, where you just decrease kind of like the top of the hat. That's the way my grandmother used to do it, and so that's the way I'm doing it. And yes, I love them. They're so cool, so pretty. I really, really like them. And I can't wait to wear them. And I also really enjoyed like the other colorways. and I can't wait to knit socks with that. So I have a full skein left of pretty much of that other woolen twine yarn, which is that beigey here. And I was thinking, and I also have a little bit of the beige left, and I was thinking that I might want to do, I don't remember the name of them, but like those socks where the cuff has a color work that looks like quilt, or like quilting stars or something, which looks really nice. I really like the look of it. I think I have more than enough yarn to do that. I'm just mildly concerned about, I would do the main sock in that beige and then the color work in that, I guess light brown, and then the color work in that beige. And I'm just mildly concerned that the contrast might not be high enough. But it works. It works on these. So I don't need it to be high contrast. I just need to be like high enough that it shows. So I don't know. I might just have to give it a try and then knit a bit of color work. And if it doesn't work, I'll just unravel it and do something else with it. But yeah. So yeah, those are my fairy rings socks, and they're done. And I can't wait to wear them. The one last thing is that in the pattern, you're supposed to do little like knot stitches, like embroidery, like French knots, onto the mushroom caps, to make white dots on the red mushroom caps that the patterns are, that are on the pattern, but I haven't made them and I don't think I will. I kind of like the way it looks like this. I feel like it would look weird if I had dots on these. So I think I might just leave them like that, and then in the future, if I want to, I can always add them. But yeah, I think I'm just going to leave them like that. So yeah, that's the pair of socks. You might hear the cat meowing. She's fine. She just wants a bit of attention, but my husband is going to take care of her. Yes, while we're on the topic of socks, I will pop pictures of the other socks that I finished, but I have talked about them before, and they're my very, very bright orange and bright pink socks. Those were gifts for a friend and her sister-in-law, and they was for Christmas, so they've been gifted already. But basically, the yarn that I used was 2 skeins of Ginger Twist Studio Sheepish sock, which is superwash BFL and nylon. I don't remember if it's 80-20 or 75-25, but one or the other. And the orange one, I believe, was called Melon Balls on Fire. I've also given the tag with them, so now I don't remember. And then the pink one was, I think, Design of a Decade or something like that. The idea was that the sister-in-law wanted, I was going to make a DK weight pair of socks, so like house socks. So I would have to hold the yarn double. And because the size that I needed to do was a size 9, just using one skein fingering weight held double was not going to be enough, especially because that specific sock yarn is a bit less than 400 meters per 100 grams. I think it's like 360. So it would not have been enough. And so we decided to get another color. So originally we wanted to do it all orange. Then we decided to get the pink and to compensate for the yarn requirements. So the DK socks, I did the heel and the toe in the pink, and then obviously I had a lot of pink yarn left because I didn't use a lot. So I made a pair for my friend in the pink. That was just a normal pair of fingering weight socks. I didn't hold the yarn double, but I wanted to add something a little bit interesting to it, and so I made a bit of a lace cuff. The pattern that I used for the cuff is the pattern of the ribbing in the Gan Vest by Ailbíona McLochlainn. It's like one of the first, I think. It's maybe the first garment that I ever knit. And she gives you options to do just the normal 2x2 or something like that ribbing, or a nice ribbing that has a bit of a lace pattern to it. So I decided to reuse that because I had the pattern already. I decided to reuse that for the cuff of these socks. It fit with the 64 stitches count, so that was great. So I did that, and then at the end I still had a little bit of yarn left over, and because my friend is pregnant, I thought I would use that yarn to make a pair of baby socks, and that way I would use everything, which is pretty much what I did. I think I have a tiny bit of the pink left, but not that much. And so yeah, I used the perfect newborn sock pattern to make the baby socks, which was brilliant. Thank you so much. So many of you recommended it because I'd asked in my previous podcast episode or previous video, I don't remember, recommendations on sock patterns for newborns, like really tiny ones, because I felt like a lot of the ones that I could find were more for children and would have been a bit too big. I guess not so much for the baby because they would wear it eventually, but for the amount of yarn that I had. So yeah, I ended up using the perfect newborn socks. The pattern is by Tabitha Gandhi. I will link everything that I talk about and all my Ravelry project pages down in the description below. And it worked great. I loved it. It was really fun. I did the main body of the socks was the orange yarn, and then the cuff, heels and toes was in the pink yarn. That was a lot of ends to weave in on such a tiny sock, I have to say. It was also so tiny. Obviously, I did that on magic loop because you can't do that on circulars, like tiny circulars. It's just too big. But they knit really quickly. I got the pair done in, I don't know, an afternoon or not even, like a few hours. And yeah, it was really fun. It was the tiniest thing that I've ever knit. So yeah, I will definitely reuse that pattern in the future. And thank you again for recommending it. So yes, so that is all the socks that I have as part of my finished objects. And I'm going to move on to the last two finished objects, which are both hats. Let me grab the pattern because both patterns come from a book. The first one is this one, and that was a gift for my husband for Christmas. And this is the Keep It Together hat. I'm just going to grab the book. So it comes from this book, which is part of my acquisitions, I guess, but I'm going to show it now. I pre-ordered that. This is the Knits to Wear by Veronika Lindberg, who also goes by Kotowakika on social media, on Instagram and YouTube. And I don't know, maybe more, but I only use Instagram and YouTube. And it's got lots and lots of lovely patterns, but I was looking for an easy, quick and easy hat pattern for a yarn that I already had in my stash. And this was great. Let me see if I can... Obviously, I didn't mark the page. Where is it? I think it was towards the start. And I have a bookmark in it that I put at the right place while I was knitting on it, and then I removed it and put it at the front, which is absolutely useless. I think the person modeled... Oh, there it is. So this is what the pictures look like. It is modeled by her husband, and it is a super easy, super quick knit. It comes in one size, but because it is ribbing, it stretches a lot. It is 2x2 ribbing, so it really stretches a lot. I was a bit concerned because my husband usually, when I make a hat for him, I have to go to the larger size available. So I was mildly concerned that it was still going to be too small, but it isn't. It fits really well. And yeah, it is, the yarn recommended for it is, she used Knitting for Olive Merino and Soft Silk Mohair. Oh no, Knitting for Olive Merino held double. So, and the yarn that I had and that I was planning to use for this project was Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino. So it was perfect because I think the Heavy Merino is exactly the same yardage as the Merino held double. And yes, the colorway is called Brown Bear, and yeah, he loves it, and I'm so happy. I bought this yarn a little while ago, and I've knitted 2 hats out of this yarn already, believe it or not, and for whatever reason, they were massively too big, and I didn't understand why. And I was kind of feeling a bit discouraged about the yarn. I was like, everyone loves this yarn, why is it not working for me? And I guess I just used the wrong pattern, or I don't know, to be fair, I hadn't swatched either because I don't swatch for hats, and anyway, so it's a hat that I've promised him for a long time, and I made it twice, and twice I had to like take it back and unravel it, and it needed to be good this time around, and it was. He loves it. He really wears it all the time. The way it is knit is got a double brim, so he's worn it quite a bit already, so it's already stretched out a little bit, but basically you knit a bit, then you do a knit row, so it gives you a nice edge, and it folds on its own really nicely, and then you knit a bit longer, and then you do another one, so another knit row, so it creates the double folded brim, and then you just knit up, just do a hat basically. It's quite easy. I think the crown is quite nice, and yeah, I'm really glad that it worked out well. The other thing, like the bit of a story with this, is that the yarn is pretty much the exact same color of one of our cats that sadly we lost earlier in the spring, and like he was my husband's cat, and they were like really close, and so my husband was really, really sad when we lost the cat. The cat was really, really old. He died of old age, like no like bad illnesses, unexpected things or anything like that, but it was still a really big loss. And then we used to nickname him like Brown Bear, because he was just like round like a little bear, and he was really dark brown like a brown bear. And then I saw this yarn from Knitting for Olive, and it was the same color. It was also called Brown Bear, and I was like, you know what, as a little, I don't know, memory or something nice, I was going to make him a brown bear hat. And yeah, he loves it. He's been wearing it all the time. He has a really large hat collection that I have knit him. He shaves his head, so he's like hats are a non-negotiable for him. And he sometimes even wears hats in the house because, it can be cold or a bit, he just wears hat all the time. And so he has now various hats of various warmth and various thicknesses. And so he has a hat for most purposes and most times. And so this one is one that he wears at home a lot, and he likes it. And the size is good. I think it was maybe a tiny bit snug at first, but it's stretched out now, and I think the fit is perfect. So yeah, I'm really glad that it's done, because I was feeling really bad. I couldn't figure out why I couldn't knit a hat in this yarn that would fit. It's the third one that I'm making out of this yarn, but yeah, the pattern was really easy, really enjoyable. It's a really easy, mindless project. We just knit ribbing until you have a hat, basically. So, and again, because it is a one size fits all, because it's so stretchy that it would fit most people, really. So yeah, that's all I have to say about it. It is a hat. It is a ribbed hat. So now I can return it to my husband, and he can wear it again. And then the second hat that I made is for me, and it is this beautiful hat. I love it. It's so pretty. And once again, that is from a book, and it is this book. This hat actually was in my winter knitting plan video. It was one of the things that I wanted to knit this winter, and I'm so glad that I've done it already. It's done, and I knit it so quickly. I knit it in 3 days, I think, which is unusual for me. I'm not, even if I have the time to knit, I'm not a super fast knitter. So yeah, the other thing about this project is that was a buddy knit that I did with Lisbeth Knits on Instagram and also on YouTube. She is a very lovely person, a German podcaster. And in my winter knitting plans video, I'd said, if there's any of those projects that you wanted to knit as well, like feel free to get in touch and we can knit them together. And that's what she did. And so we knit those just together. Like we both cast on, and then we chatted a bit about it on Instagram. It was really low key, really chill, really fun. She used a beautiful gray yarn from Esther Constance, which is like a German yarn producer, I would say. And it looks absolutely beautiful. So I will put her podcast and her Instagram below, so you can check it out if you're interested. It is in German. I have to say that my German is very, very rusty, but I did take German for quite a while, and I found that if I put the subtitles on, I can actually understand most of it. So I think I'm going to keep watching it just to get German in my ear a little bit. And also because I love her projects. I love the way she talks about them and everything. It's a very nice podcast to watch. So if you speak German or if you know a bit of German, then I would highly recommend the podcast. Anyway, the hat itself is called the Alku hat, and it is part of this book. It is a pattern from this book called Lakeside Stitches by Ronja Hakaletho. Probably pronouncing that wrong. She's Finnish, I believe. And this is what the hat looks like. And so I wasn't very original, and I also went for a red yarn. And it is a cabled hat. It is quite easy to knit. It is knit on a DK, with a DK yarn on, I don't remember what, I think 4mm needles probably. It is also a one size pattern, but again, because it has, the brim is ribbing, and then because it has cable, and obviously between cables you do purl stitches, like cables are also in a way a form of ribbing, so it is very stretchy. And so it fits me just fine, because I also have kind of the same issue as my husband, is that I guess I have a big head. And so I usually need to go towards the larger size, like adult, medium, or large sometimes. And I was a bit concerned, but it was fine. I think also what helped is that I think my gauge is a bit off, because my yarn was it was a DK, it was very plump, and yeah, but it fits great, so I'm happy with it. The yarn that I use is Langsud yarn by Donna Smith Design. It's Shetland wool from her sheep. I think she gets wool from her own sheep and then the sheep of her neighbors on Shetland, and then has it spun, and she dyes it naturally. So this is dyed with madder, and it is a beautiful red. I bought this, not this September, but the September 2023, when I went to Shetland Wool Week. She had opened a little shop out of her house, and so we were able to visit, and I was able to purchase some yarn. And I bought this skein of red yarn to make a hat. That was always the plan. I just hadn't gotten around to it, and I hadn't really found a pattern that I really liked, and then I thought it would really go well with this pattern, and I think it does. It's a bottom up hat, like you do the brim and then you do the cable, and then it's very easy. The chart is very small and easy to remember. I did most of the brim at the cinema. It was my first time. I haven't been to the cinema in years. I don't think I had been to the cinema since before COVID, to be honest. But we went over Christmas break, we went to see Paddington, which, funny story, but since we've seen that Paddington film at the cinema, the third one that came out, and then at home we watched the second one, which they go to jail, I think, which is really, I think to me the second one is the best one. And I'm just on such a marmalade kick now. I eat marmalade all the time, even though that's not really something that I eat a lot. I usually prefer like red berry jam, kind of strawberry, raspberry jam. But I am on a big marmalade kick right now, and I am not mad about it because it is tasty. So yeah, anyway, marmalade interlude over. But yeah, I knit most of the ribbing at the cinema. It was fine. It was my first time doing it. I was fully prepared to come out of it and see that I missed a stitch and sort of like messed up my ribbing, but no, it was completely fine. It wasn't quick, I will say that, but I did make a decent amount of progress. And then I did the rest of the hat in a couple of days. It was just, and not working on it all day either, just working on it a few hours, and it was so quick. And yeah, I love it. I'm gonna put it on. I think it has a way probably of coming on, but I don't know. But yeah, I like it a lot. It's my first time doing a hat that has like on purpose a bit of space that is more like pointy and not flush against your skull. And I think I like it. I like it better, I think, actually, than some that are flush against my skull. It has a really good size. It's not tight at all, because sometimes hats are a bit too tight, and then I have the ribbing in print on my forehead. Not ideal. And I kind of like it like this because it's got cable. It stays quite pointy. It doesn't slouch, that's what I mean. And yeah, it's very warm and I like it a lot, and I've worn it a lot because it's been very cold. So yeah, love it. yeah, moving on. I'm going to move on because I've been talking for so long. It's going to be such a long episode. I'm going to move on to my works in progress now. And I am going to start, what is the hair situation? All right, that's good enough. I am going to start just quickly with the pair of socks that I mentioned earlier that I had sort of like finished last year, and then I unraveled a little bit of it to adjust them, and because they didn't fit properly. And those are my Fiorellini socks by Marie-Ève of the In Her Skein podcast. I will link it down below. This was a test knit from last winter, I want to say, maybe spring, I can't remember exactly. And it is a colorwork cuff sock. I wonder if it was her first sock pattern, or maybe her second, I don't remember. And yeah, it is very pretty. The yarn that I'm using for this is called Wild and Bare Fibers. It's also, do I have the label here? Yeah, I do actually. This is what it looks like. And it is also a natural sock yarn. It's got a blend of Exmoor, Horn, Dartmoor, close wool and texel, and then a bit of tencel in it as a nylon alternative. And I love it. It is my favorite natural sock yarn that I've tried so far. And I had a full skein of that dark purple left, and then a bit of the lighter lilac-y color, and I thought they would work really well together. So anyway, I've talked about this in a previous podcast from earlier in 2024. The issue is that I have with them is that I tried a different kind of rounded toe, where as opposed to like going all the way to where you would start a regular wedge toe or whatever, and then doing your decreases there, you space them out a bit more. So supposedly they would be more invisible, but that means that, as you can see, the foot is very tapered. And even though I have quite narrow feet, it's just too tapered, and it sort of like brings my toes together. Like it squeezes them a bit too much, and it's very uncomfortable. And so as a result, I haven't really worn them, which is really a shame because I love the pattern and I love the yarn. So I have decided, because honestly, it's not a lot of work, I just need to do it. I have decided to unravel, and I'm keeping the yarn on a loo roll, keeping it glam, to unravel to the first set of decreases that I did, and then just knit to, and just do my normal toe. So yeah, I think you can see maybe here is when I picked up. I think this will even out with blocking afterwards. Even if it doesn't, it's not really a big deal to me. I just want to be able to wear those socks. So yeah, I just need to get going on those, but I feel like I'm always prioritizing something else. So yeah, but yeah, I just wanted to show that because I think sometimes it's good to have a look at the projects that you have and that you don't actually wear, and think for a minute about why are you not wearing them and what you can do about them. And this one is a very easy fix that I've been putting off for pretty much a year now, which is really a shame because I love these socks and I love that yarn and I love the pattern and I really want to wear them. So yeah, I just need to, get it together and spend an afternoon fixing my socks. It's really no big deal. But yeah, I'm just remembering now that I still haven't told you what I'm wearing. I am wearing the Dropp pullover by Ailbíona McLochlainn. I will link my Ravelry page in the description box below. I have knitted out of 2 strands of woolly knit, 100% British wool in the shade probably navy or dark blue or something. I've had this for 2 years already. And then 1 strand of a Zakami alpaca lace, which I don't believe is a base that they carry anymore, unfortunately. But I will link my Ravelry page in the description box below and all the information will be there. I love it. I've had it for at least 2 years, yeah, and I'm wearing it all the time in the winter. It's really nice. It is a drop shoulder construction, but you knit everything in the round, which is really cool. Anyway, moving on to my second work in progress, which is what is getting all of my time and attention right now. As you can see by the size of the bag, it is a garment. And I have decided to cast on the Beatrix Cardigan. This has been on my list ever since the pattern came out because it is so beautiful. I had bought some grey nice, really rustic grey yarn to knit it with originally, but then I felt like this was the kind of cardigan that called for a bit more color, in my opinion. And then I had this yarn that I didn't know what to use for. It used to be a jumper that I never wore, so I unraveled it and then I was just left with it and I didn't really know what to do with it. And then I thought the two would go really well together. I had to buy a bit more yarn, but I think the dye lots are okay. So I think they match enough. I might alternate skeins a little bit, but I think they actually work well. Anyway, instead of just babbling like this, I'm going to show you. So this is my Beatrix cardigan. The reason I'm knitting this, it wasn't on my winter plans list, but the reason why that I'm knitting this now is because I got really excited about it and I thought I would be able to, and I thought I would want to wear it for my birthday. I'm going to my family for my birthday and I'm going to have a bit of a birthday party with the family, and so I thought I could knit myself something really nice to wear, and this is what I decided to do. So this is what it looks like. So the Beatrix cardigan, like I said, is by Gregoria fiber, and it's this cardigan that has this lovely texture all over, and then it's a saddle shoulder, but then on the shoulders you have this braided cable and it goes all the way down the arm. I will have put pictures before on the screen. And yeah, the yarn that I'm using is Rerum Natura Cyrano, so it's their thickest one. The pattern calls for a thinner yarn and a mohair, but I think it works really well in this thicker yarn. I have gauge, I should have enough yarn, and it makes it a bit more stiff and sturdy and squishy, and I kind of like it. I know it's the cardigan, but I plan to wear this as a jacket, so I think it works really well for that. The color that I'm using is called Aubépine, which means rose hip. It's their red. I think they only have one red. So yeah, I have done the back. So it's a saddle shoulder, like I said. So you start by doing the two shoulders, which are those braided cables, and then you pick up stitches to do the back. And then you do one front and then the other front, which I'm almost done with the other front, and then you join at the underarm and you knit flat, you know. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I think I'm going to finish the other front today. I need this for, ideally I would like to finish this by the end of January so that it has time to dry, because it's quite thick. I think it's going to take quite a while to dry, and then so I can have it ready in early February for my birthday. But yeah, I love it. It's really, really nice. I'm making the size 2 because that goes with the amount of yarn that I have. The pattern would recommend me knitting the size 3, but it also has a lot of positive ease. I think it has anywhere between like 25 and 30 or 25 and 35 centimeters of positive ease, which is a lot. And if I did the size 3, which is recommended, I would end up with 26, I think, centimeters of positive ease. But if I do the size 2, which is what I'm doing because that's the yarn that I have, I would end up with like 23 centimeters of ease instead of the minimum requirement of 25. And I think 23 is more than enough for me as a jacket. So yeah, I'm happy with that. And yeah, I'm really, really enjoying knitting it. I'm using the needles recommended because that's how I got gauge, but obviously you need to swatch. The pattern, the texture, this sort of like waffly bit is very easy. It's very easy to make. It's not difficult at all. It's not a cable. It's nothing like that. And because it's a two row repeat to get that pattern, but you have that horizontal stitch here, it makes it actually really easy to count your rows. And so yeah, it's quite a fun project. Like I said, I'm knitting it on the needles recommended by the pattern, and that's 5mm needles, which is means that it knits up really quickly. I'll just show you a ball of yarn, but I think you've all seen the Rerum ones. This is what it looks like. Cyrano in this beautiful color, and it is 100% wool, 150 meters per 100 grams. So, you know, like a good Aran weight yarn. So yeah, I'm just gonna show you if I can grab it. Okay, so this is what I had bought years ago, and I had made a sweater with it that I wasn't wearing, and so I frogged it and I kept it, but I bought it at least 2 or 3 years ago. The thing is, I had this ball left over. Everything else I have is what I unraveled from the sweater, but even then I needed another 2 balls of yarn in order to do the Beatrix cardigan. So I decided to go ahead and order, hoping that the dye lots would be consistent enough, and also with the idea that I would save the new skeins of yarn for like the ribbing, the collar, the cuffs, because that doesn't bother me so much if they're slightly different. But also hoping that they wouldn't be very different. This is a ball of the new yarn that I ordered this year. And I don't know, I've been a bit of a crazy person, just like bringing it with me everywhere to try it in a million different lights. But I don't know, I don't think they look different. What do you think? I think they kind of look exactly the same. I don't know if I can go ahead and just like carry on and knit with this without alternating skeins, or if I'm taking a risk, because if there's 2 panels of knitted yarn next to each other and they're not exactly the same color, it's going to show. But I don't know. Let me know what you think. Can you tell the difference? I can't really tell the difference. I've looked by the window, like in natural sunlight. I've looked in artificial light, and they look pretty much the same. I did put a little cross here on the label just to remember which one is which. But yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but also I'm not there yet, so I'll make a decision later. But yeah, they look pretty similar to me. So yeah, that is my second work in progress, and I'm going to go quickly over the third one because you have seen it before and I haven't made a ton of progress, but I have taken it out of hibernation. And it is, sorry, I have to put everything on the floor, so I'm constantly bending to reach stuff. It is my Autumn Tales shawl by Ozetta. It is also knit in unspun, just like my Milester jacket, and the sun is coming out now, that's great. And this is what it looks like. So I think the last time I was here, which is where I was done with the increases. So now I'm in the bit where I have to knit straight for a while before I do the decreases. The yarn that I am using, it's just garter stitch at this point. The yarn that I'm using is the unspun by Hillesvåg, which has a name in Norwegian, which I am not going to pronounce because I don't know how to. But it is in their light grey. It is very, very lovely. It is the most fragile unspun that I have used so far. It does break easily, but it's okay. You learn to manage it. You learn to relax and knit in a way that doesn't break your yarn. And yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I had a bit of an issue because the pattern, I think, is knit in Petroleum. I struggled a bit to figure out the equivalent in terms of yardage. And the pattern finishes up with around the edge of your shawl, you crochet a braid, and it looks really, really nice, but it doesn't really tell you in the pattern how much yarn you will need to save for the braid. And also, even if it did in another yarn, I wouldn't really know how much it would be in this specific yarn. So I wasn't really sure how to manage that. Also, my gauge is off, so you know, what else is new? So I think what I've decided to do is that I know how much yarn in like grams, how much yarn I used for the triangle that is the increase section. And so now I'm going to knit straight until I have the same amount of yarn and then do the decrease section. And so I'm hoping to use all of my Hillesvåg unspun for the main body of the scarf. And then I have some leftover unspun from U.S. wool that I bought a little while ago, which is also a light grey. It is not exactly the same grey, but I think they work okay together. And so I would use that to do the braid. That way I know that I have plenty of that for the braid. I'm not worried about running out. And that way I'm using all of my Hillesvag unspun for the scarf itself. I don't have leftovers, and yeah, so that's the plan. It is very easy to knit. It is very mindless. It is very relaxing garter stitch. It's just, and it's been on my needles for so long, much longer than it needs to be. It's just that I have, again, prioritized a lot of other things over that. So it hasn't gotten a lot of love, sadly, but hopefully, I guess the priority right now is my Beatrix Cardigan by Gregoria Fibers, because I need to finish it by a certain date. And then afterwards, I think this Autumn Tales shawl is going to get all of the attention just to get it finished. And so I can hopefully like still use it a bit this winter. But yeah, just to clear that needles, because, you know, it's been on the needles for a while and it deserves to be finished and worn. So yeah, that is all of my works in progress at the moment. I feel like I'm clearly out of practice, if you can't tell. Yeah, I guess I'm going to move on to the next section, which is acquisitions. I have just a few that I would like to show you. And then after that, I will quickly talk about the books that I've been reading. You guys have been loving this new segment of my podcast, and I've been loving doing it, so it's great. And we've been recommending books to each other, which has been wonderful. And then, yeah, and then that'll be it. So when it comes to acquisition, I guess the first one I showed you already is my the book by Veronika Lindberg, The Knit to Wear. Really, really lovely book. I have obviously knit a pattern from it already, but it's amazing. The patterns are really, really nice. And I really like her work, even though her color choices are quite different from mine. I really like her work and the way she writes patterns and all of this. So I'm very, very happy with this book. I would recommend you have a look at it if you're interested. It's definitely worth considering. So have a look at the patterns, and then if you find patterns that you like, it's a good book to have. I have another book, which is, well, a magazine, I guess, which is the latest Laine magazine. I don't often buy these. It's definitely not one that I collect for sure. And I don't often buy these because oftentimes there's maybe one pattern that I like in it. And to me, just one pattern doesn't justify buying the whole book, especially because after a while, the patterns become available individually. So yeah, unless it's something that I absolutely fall in love with and I want to knit it right away, I don't usually buy the books. But this one, there's so many patterns in there that I really want to knit, that I really, really like, that I decided to buy it. It's issue 23, winter 2025. I have to say, I'm not a massive fan of the new redesign of the Laine thing, like all the colors and everything. I kind of liked the way it was done before, but it doesn't matter. The one pattern, I mean, there's plenty of patterns that I want to knit, but one in particular is, I'd mentioned it in my winter knitting plan, and it's this jacket, which is called Cork, and by Camille Romano, which I think she's either French or from Quebec, maybe French Canadian, I'm not really sure. From Paris, so French, but living in Finland. And yeah, I really, really like this jacket. It's made of bulky yarn, and it was in my winter knitting plan. So if you want to know more about it, I would encourage you to watch that video. But yeah, there's also plenty of other patterns in there that I really like. I love this one. Like big chunky cables like this. I think that looks great. Definitely something I could see myself knit and wear. I think it's something that I would like to wear, like make more in 2025 is like big, oversized, warm, chunky sweaters, because that tends to be what I wear at home. And I spend most of my time at home because I work from home. And so as a result, because I don't have many of these yet, I just always wear the same. And then I have, not nicer, but like more fitted or more fancy, other kinds of sweaters that I've made, but that I would wear more when I go out. So yeah, I think this year my one of my hope is to knit a lot more garments that I would wear day to day, like really pieces that I would wear day to day working from home. I really love this pattern as well, but that's a lot of like twisted stitches. That's dedication, but it's amazing. It's so beautiful, but yeah, it's a lot of work, but yeah. So yeah, that's one acquisition. Another one that I would like to show you is an acquisition from a little while ago, but it's linked to my advent calendar. So I had the Zakami advent calendar, and I'm not going to show you all the mini skeins because there's too many, but I wanted to show you the main skein because I also got it on a very interesting base, which is 50% Corriedale and 50% Mohair, and I intend to make socks with them. And yeah, so I just wanted to show you the colors because it's so pretty. I think it's a combination of all the colors that were used throughout the calendar. But for my calendar, I got the llama base, and I guess the way llama takes the dye, it's all a lot more muted than here, where it's actually quite intense. And I like both, but yeah, so I'm hoping to cast on socks with that really soon because I think Corriedale is sometimes used as a natural sock yarn. I have another pair of socks that is 50 or 70% Mohair, 30% Shetland, and they're so warm and I wear them all the time and they wear really, really well. So I think 50-50 Corriedale Mohair would be really great for socks. It's 400 meters per 100 grams. So I might just do either a vanilla sock or a ribbed sock or something like that. So that's another acquisition that I wanted to show you. And then the last one is these two skeins of Knitting for Olive. This was a bit of a last minute purchase, or like something that I hadn't given a lot of thoughts to, I guess. The reason I bought this is because I have decided to make a pair of penny gloves for my mom for Christmas. I didn't spend Christmas with my family this year, but I'm going to see them in February, so I'm bringing the Christmas presents with me then. And I was going to knit her some penny gloves, and I thought she would like this color. I've made a few pairs of penny gloves already. They're great. They're quick to knit, very enjoyable to knit, and a wonderful gift because they would fit most people. Also, I think my mom's hands are probably the same size as mine. So yeah, the color is deep petroleum blue in the merino and the same in the mohair. It's a really nice color, actually. I quite like it. I might get some for myself and make something out of it. So yeah. And finally, to finish before the sun comes out and blinds me, we haven't had any sun for 2 weeks. We've had just wind and storms, and now the sun comes out, and obviously it comes barely over the hill at this time of year, but when it does, it's right in my face. I'm just going to talk quickly about the books that I've read. I don't really remember what I was reading the last time I recorded a podcast, so I have finished that book, whatever that was, and I probably enjoyed it. Another book that I read in December is this book. Actually, I have it for once in physical form because I usually read on an e-reader. And it is called The Golden Spoon by Jessa Maxwell. This was actually a gift from my lovely friend Rebecca of Journey Through Yarn. We swapped advent calendars this year, just like scrap advent calendars. And she had included a few extra gifts, and one of them was this. She knows how much I love cozy murder mysteries. I'm actually very impressed that she found one that I hadn't read yet, because I think I've read so many now that it's probably quite hard to gift me a cozy murder mystery, even though there's tons out there as well. But yeah, she gifted me this one, and it was so much fun. It is, as the thing says at the back, at the bottom, it says like the Great British Bake Off meets and then there were none, and that's literally what it is. It's a cozy murder mystery set in like a baking competition. It is set in Vermont in America, but it's like the idea is Great British Bake Off kind of. And then the contestant go, they stay at the manor house where the host of the competition lives, and it's over a week, I think, and every day they have a baking contest, and then there's everything that happens around it, and there's a murder, obviously. But what was really interesting about this book is that it didn't really have, well, it is a cozy murder mystery, it didn't really have the standard format of others, where usually it's the book starts and then someone dies, and then the amateur sleuth starts the investigation, and the whole book is investigation in a way. This is a lot of setting things up where like people are acting a bit strange, and you know there's going to be a murder because it starts like the first page is like, oh, that person was killed, and then it goes to 1 week earlier, and so it's sort of like the build up to the murder, and which was really fun because you're like, okay, how is this going to happen now? How is the murder going to happen? And yeah, it was a lot of fun. I would recommend it if you want to read it. It was a lot of fun. Right now, the book I'm reading, I don't put a picture here because it's on my e-reader, is called Silent Knit. I have it here. Silent Knit, Deadly Knit. It is the 4th book in the Knit and Nibble murder mystery series by Peggy Ehrhart. I think that's how you pronounce her name. It has to do with like knitting and solving murders, so it's really fun. It is quite fluffy. It is a very light read, but I enjoy it. It's not one of those series where like if I finish a book, I have to start the next one, but it is one that I enjoy picking up the next book a couple of times a year. So, and this specific one is set at Christmas, so I'm almost done with it, but it was a good time to read it. I think probably a lot of you have heard of those or have read those. They're just fun. They're very sweet. They're very fun. And yeah, and then the last book that I wanted to show you is one that Kyle gifted me for Christmas, and it is not really a murder mystery, but it is related to it, and it is hilarious. And this is what it is. It is called Your Guide to Not Getting Murdered in a Quaint English Village. And this is exactly what it is. And so the pages are more like vignettes, or each page is like an illustration and then a few words. But it's very like, the author is so kind of like sassy and sarcastic, and it's just hilarious. And so it goes through like the village and different places in the village where you shouldn't go because otherwise you're going to get murdered, and then the various characters that you find in the village. So you have the priest, the old person, and then the family is the mother and the father and the twins and the creepy daughter and the weird uncle and the pet, and then places in the house, in the mansion, where you have the attic and the basement and that weird room that no one goes into ever. And it's just so funny. Let me see if I can find something maybe. Yeah, so there's this one. It says The Locked Room, and it says, oh, that room, you wouldn't be interested in what's in there. It's very unique, but not your sort of thing at all. But if you'd really like to see for yourself, which I think is hilarious. I love it. It's so funny. I never heard of this book. I just saw it. I was at the bookshop for something else and I saw it, and I immediately put it on my Christmas wish list because it's been so much fun. So if you can find it, if you're a fan of murder mysteries and you can find it, it's definitely worth getting a copy. The illustration is really nice as well. And yeah, like here's another one, which is The Gardener. And he's called Snood the Gardener. Never trust anyone with a favorite shovel. It's so funny. I love it. Anyway, I'm gonna leave you here because sun, and I don't have anything else to say anyway. Thank you so much for watching. I hope everything went okay. I'm going to find out in a minute when I start editing with the sound and the image. If not, I'm really sorry. I'll work on it for next time. And I hope you're having a really lovely start to the year. If you have any knitting plans or goals or ambitions or things like that for the new year, please feel free to share them below. And I will see you again very soon in another video. Bye-bye.